Hi, I'm Danny. Welcome back to the garage. In today's video, we're going to go over the engine cooling fans. If your car's overheating or your fans just aren't coming on when your engine gets hot, we're going to go over how that happens today, and we're going to check the engine coolant temperature sensor with a simple resistor. Let's get started. On my Civic, which is a 2009, it has two temperature sensors. So the one up top here, that's for pretty much engine management. It'll control your fuel, your timing, and it also controls the temperature gauge. The one that we're going to talk about today is engine coolant temperature sensor number 2, and that's going to be located down here on the left side of the radiator. And that's the sensor that controls the cooling fans when they come on when the engine gets hot. I do want to note that I did remove the engine splash shield. So that's just to help you see what I'm doing once I remove the connector to check the sensor. So let's go ahead and remove the connector off coolant temperature sensor number 2. And if you look right here, that's a tab right there that you need to push down. There's not a lot of room. I try to get in here with two hands. Push that down and kind of rock it. Don't pull on the wire. There we go, right there. And then, so if you look here, there's a green wire and a black wire. So the green wire is going to be your 5 volts. And then the black wire is going to be the return voltage. Now you may have heard that you can just take a paper clip and then jump the terminals. But that doesn't work on this car. It may work on some of the older cars, and I'm going to prove it. I'm not going to use the paper clip, but I will use a terminal connector to jump it. This way I don't open up them terminals. So that's just a jumper wire, and then I'll go turn on the key and I'll show you what happens. First thing it does is it sets a code. So let's read the fault codes. So engine coolant temperature sensor 2, low voltage. When I jumped it, it thinks it has a short. So now let's go back and let's go to data stream. And I think I've already got it selected. So let's find engine coolant temperature sensor. So we're going to look at the voltage and the temperature. And there we go, 419 degrees it thinks it is, because it thinks it's shorted. And then 0 volts. So it needs to see about a ½ volt before it turns on that fans. Let me show you a better way to do this. Instead of using a paper clip or a jumper wire to jump that connector, we're going to use a resistor. I've already determined what size resistor you're going to need to turn on them fans. And I purchased this on Amazon. This whole kit was really cheap. It was only about $10. I'll put a link in the description as well as everything else I use in today's video. It'll all be in the description. All right, so I've got the meter and the ohm scale. So here's a resistor. It's right about 150 ohms. Let's measure it. So 147.3. So this is the magic number to turn on them fans. So instead of using that paper clip, I'm going to use this resistor as a jumper. And I'm going to just jump it. I'm going to put it in each terminal here. That should do it. And then I'll turn on the key. And now you can hear the fans. Our fans are on. Back at the scan tool, we have the engine coolant sensor 2. Let's go ahead and say OK. And now this is the voltage, 0.45, and this is the temperature. So we're running off that resistor right now. So whenever it hits 0.45, the fans are going to come on. And that's 213 degrees. So that's a great way to check that sensor 2. So we just eliminated the sensor 2, and now we know that the wiring is good. We know the fans can turn on. We know the computer's turning on the fans. So if it wasn't turning on before, and now it turns on with the resistor, you know Engine Coolant Temperature Sensor 2 is going to be the problem. Let's go ahead and put this back on. Okay, so let's remove our resistor and let's go ahead and plug this back on. And by the way, the key's off. Should always want to disconnect and reconnect with the keys off. And make sure it's in there. Now the key's back on, the connector's connected again. So now we just want to clear the codes. Let's back up. And we want to clear fault codes. Well, here, let's go check them first. Read fault codes. We should have, yeah, we got a bunch of them. So we have all these codes because we disconnected the connector with the key on, and then we jumped it with the key on. So let's back up and let's clear all the fault codes. Say okay, 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 and then let's check it real quick. Read fault codes, and we're back to normal. When you're checking for codes, if you come up with a P0128, 95% of the time, that's going to be a thermostat. I have a video on that, and I'll put a link to it in the description. If Engine Coolant Temperature Sensor 2 tested good, but your fans still don't get the signal to work, I would check the 5-volt reference signal on that green wire. You can do this two ways. One, you can just use the scan tool, but you'll have to unplug the sensor and then read the voltage. It should say 5 volt. If you're going to check for your 5 volt reference with a meter, this is how you would do it. So I've got my lead connectors into my terminals. So one's going to have 5 volts. The other one's going to go back to the PCM for ground. If I look at my meter, it's telling me 5 volts on there, and they're just connected to voltage and then the COM. And then I couldn't do this without my lead set. If you know around my channel, I use this lead set all the time. I hope you got something out of today's video. If you did, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. I'll put links to any parts that I used in today's video in the description, as well as related videos. Today's video was focused on the coolant temperature sensor number 2 and how to diagnose it, but I also have videos on the relays and the fans, which I'll put a link to those, and I'll put a link at the end of the video. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.